including right here in the Red Barn. Our spring break camp is open for registration. So if you have kids that are off from March 30th to April 3rd and you want to have them in camp, let us know, sign them up. And if you have 4th through 9th graders, we still have room in our summer camps as well. We also have our community programs like the Red Barn events. We also have a community garden that's just a couple blocks over that way. And our lottery for open plots is open now. So if you're interested in having I think they're 4 by 8 foot plots that you can do not quite whatever you want with, but like close. Now's the time to sign up. And if you are on our e-news list, you should be getting notifications about that. If you're not on our e-news list, you can sign up at the table over here. Our Bird Fest also opens to registration next Wednesday for our May Bird Fest. And we have some cool upcoming new events like our Black Bear Bonanza and our Dark Skies celebration, both in April. Whew, lots of things coming up. I would also like to thank our 2026 Red Barn sponsors. So thank you to the City of Leavenworth, Sleeping Lady Mountain Resort, Hotel Pension Anna, Sage Mountain Natural Foods, North Central Washington Audubon Society, Obertal Inn, Munchen House, South Restaurants, Whistle Punk Ice Cream Company, Ludwig's German Restaurant, Icicle Brewing Company, and Kolchuk's of Leavenworth. We thank our sponsors, but we also rely on our community to keep us able to offer programs like this that are free to the public. So if you feel moved to donate, we can take donations at our welcome table and at our bar table. And I know many of you are already donors, so thank you so much. Another aspect of WRI is our effort to connect the community with Indigenous peoples whose ancestral homelands are right here in Leavenworth. So I'd like to take a moment for our land acknowledgement. This land acknowledgement was created alongside the Shimpish-Squashu people. We are spreading the message they wish to be spread to the public. The land Wenatchee River Institute sits on is the ancestral homelands of the Shimpish-Squashu, or Pisquosa, or Wenatchee people. The Shimpish-Squashu, meaning people in between, had villages positioned along the Wenatchee River and surrounding areas. Their ancestral homeland extends from the Cascade Ridge throughout what is now known as the Wenatchee and Okanagan Valleys. The culture and economy of the Shimpish-Squashu people centers on taking care of the land. They hunt, fish, gather roots and berries, basket-making materials, and medicines. The Shimpish-Squashu are named within the Yakima Treaty of 1855. Language to establish the Wenatchee Reservation was never followed through, even with the needed surveying complete. Many Shimpish-Squashu now live on the Colville Reservation, 150 miles northeast of Leavenworth. They were forced off their land here, and the U.S. government moved them to this reservation. The Shimpish-Squashu people are still alive today. They continue to practice their culture, harvest their traditional foods and medicines, and hold their ceremonies passed down from their ancestors. Most people won't see or notice them, but they continue to be on the land they are connected to. Their traditional language is in Hamchin, an interior Salish dialect, and we would like to welcome you tonight by saying hello in their language, Tilhust. We offer this land acknowledgement as the first step to amplifying Indigenous voices and recognizing the harm done to them as a people. We stand as an ally to recognize their connection to the land and their rights to practice their culture on these sacred lands. We encourage all to learn about the Indigenous peoples of the place you now call home. The Wenatchee River Institute is committed to sharing this land acknowledgement and following up with other actions to educate and be respectful. Thank you. And tonight, we are so lucky to partner with amazing organizations like the Washington Native Plant Society and the Wenatchee Valley chapter, who also do such wonderful work in our communities and taking care of the land around here. So to start us off, I'd like to welcome Ted Alway, the chair of our local chapter.
Thank you, Virginia. Happy to see you all here. This has been a wonderful collaboration with Wenatchee River Institute. This is our Chapter 6 program of the year and the second one here. We are finishing up our programs for the year and we are moving into our flower walks now. We have a whole suite of those that'll be beginning really the end of this month. And if any of you would like to know about these upcoming events, all you need to do is, if you don't already have it, is provide your contact information. There's a sheet over there for either email. Ideally, we need your email so we can send out this information to you. You don't have to be a member to enjoy what we have on offer, like these programs or walks and some other events we have. But we do appreciate people that do become members because that helps support us financially. I'll leave these brochures here should you want to become a member, or come talk to me if you'd like to do that. So please sign up if you want the information on the table over there. The program we have this evening has been really years in the making, something that I've wanted to see, because one of the ways we learn about and enjoy and appreciate our native flora is through photography. And we're fortunate to have 3 of our members today share their experiences and their photographs with you. It's not just taking the photographs that's important, but how you get that lovely shot, the lighting, the composition, the timing. And these gentlemen, Tracy, Mike, and Jack, have done this for years because they're avid outdoors people as well, so they see lots of things out there. They will each present a section of this program, and after each one presents, there'll be time for a few questions that may come to mind about what they said, and there'll be time at the end of the presentation as well, because we want you to get the full benefit out of this. So with that, I'd like to welcome up our first speaker this evening, which will be Tracy Maynard.
Hi. Yeah. So where do I start? First of all, I wish the pictures display much more lovely on the computer than you see up here. So that's my yeah. This is one of the. I've been fortunate enough to have several of my photographs be selected for the Native Plant Society calendar, and so they look much lovelier in the calendar than you'll see here. But nonetheless, this is one that made it into this year's calendar, and I have a handout that I passed out for my suggestions. What I have in mind when I try to get a photograph that I will like. And that's my primary goal, is to take a picture that I will like, to satisfy myself. I'm not trying to necessarily get something accepted as a calendar photo, but what's a photo that brings me pleasure? And I remember I used to post quite a few photographs on a regular basis to the Facebook page of the Native Plant Society. And I remember one question somebody posted was, what's the purpose of this? Is it just a place for people to post pretty pictures? And I think that's a valid question. It caught me by surprise because, my intent is not just to produce a pretty picture, but to produce something that has meaning to me. So there are many reasons why we take pictures. Some pictures are portraits of plants. Other pictures show interactions of people with plants. Some are macro photographs to bring out a small detail. And the kind of photograph that I want to focus on is the plant in its environment, in its context. And the reason we take pictures is different. Appreciation, that's one of our goals, the stated purposes of our society, is to foster appreciation for our native plants and their environments. And that appreciation, that means different things to different people. For an academic, it might mean an appreciation for the physical characteristics and the biological characteristics of the plant. For somebody else, and I'm thinking about John Muir quotes or Aldo Leopold, speaks more to maybe the role of nature in ministering to our soul. And so when I take a picture out in nature and bring it back, I guess, there's bits of those different types of appreciation that I'm trying to capture and bring home with me. I look for an emotional connection to the picture that I bring back. So anyway, how do I do that? Well, there are some rules. I hesitate to call them rules, maybe more suggestions that I look for opportunities to incorporate into my photo. Well, one is, to get a picture of the subject, have a subject, and if I can, maybe tell a story with that subject. And that story might be, are there other elements in the photo besides my subject, and how do they relate to the subject? That might be a way to tell a story. Or another way to tell a story might be the feeling, that emotional response that I get to the picture. And so there's my subject. It's subalpine larch. And I look, for this photo, I wanted, to get the subject, but I also wanted to show how it is in its landscape, in its setting. So that was my attempt here. A lot of times when we take pictures, I see people there's a plant they like, it's beautiful, and snap a picture of it. But I think if we put more thought into how to capture that plant, we will be more satisfied with the results that we get. And that might be, where is the sun coming from? Where is the sun in the sky? And so let's go see if this works. So I put these up here as examples of pictures that don't quite work for me. And the main reason usually something doesn't work is because of the sunlight's too harsh. Usually when we hike, most of the time there's no clouds and the sunlight is harsh. And so you get these really harsh shadows. Over here, maybe you can't see it so much in this, but the light seems kind of flat because the camera is really working hard to balance out the brightness with the deep shadows, and you get something that's just kind of flat. Okay, so but there's not a lot you can do with. You can't control the sun and the clouds, but if there are clouds in the sky, you can be patient and wait for a cloud to move over the sun and provide some diffuse lighting. On this one, I put this one up here because a lot of times I'll see something and I'll get carried away. It'll just be a beautiful display of flowers. They're dispersed, but my problem with that is I don't really have a subject to focus on. And so it's a nice picture, but it would be stronger if there was a subject to it. Okay, so camera angles. Explore different camera angles. Now, my presentation is about the plant in its landscape. Well, you're not going to really achieve that with, that angle, but it's still worth considering. It's the same flower, just looking at it from a different angle. And this is the first picture that I got into the calendar, and I got a lot of positive response back on this picture. The things that, I think the sun for this was probably off to the left, shining this way, And the challenge was, I don't know if you can see it, but on the sepals on the underside, it's this lovely blue color. And I wanted to catch the blueness of the sky and the clouds. I wanted to see that reflected or repeated. You know, there's a theme here, and I wanted to catch that. So, you know, if I was over on the right side, I would probably pick up the blue and the sepals, but I would miss the nice little yellow centers. And so, you know, move around, and if I got too far this way, the flowers would sort of, they'd sort of disappear into the sky. But so I chose my angle so that the flowers would be up against this hill, so it would provide a nice kind of a darker background for the flowers to pop from. So be aware of your background and how your subject is going to show up against it. I know there's probably more to say about this, but we'll move on. I thought it was nice, too, that anemone means windflower, and I just thought that that was kind of captured with the wispy clouds, that was a nice touch. Okay. So I wanted to speak just about, you know, the effect of a standard lens or using the ultra-wide lens, and I'm thinking about smartphones here. You can see how it affects what's called the depth of field. I think another term is bokeh. It was 30 years after I learned about depth of field that I heard this term, but I think it's more common now. But depth of field. And so making a conscious choice between the ultra-wide or the standard has an effect on your picture. So think about that. Sometimes that's effective in blurring out a background that is distracting from what your subject is. Yes. Okay. And what I think there's probably a lot of us that try to use our camera as a magnifier, so we can see the small details. And in fact, on the left, that's this one over here on the right. Sorry, it's Macranthus idahoensis, and to tell it from rusty saxifrage, which is a different saxifrage, you have to look at the filaments of the stem of the anthers. And there's also a couple of white dots on the base of the petals. So I can't see that without some help. So I pull out my camera, and so it's a challenge to get a picture where what you're focused at what you want. And so what I find is using the ultra-wide lens, because it has a greater depth of field, it's more forgiving when I'm trying to get the camera at the right distance, especially if there's a breeze blowing. Okay, and of course, and the white-veined pyrola, pyrola picta, that's another situation where, with a standard lens, you might get the flowers in focus, but not the leaves, or the leaves, but not the flowers. So that added depth of field can help you capture that. And of course, this is our local endemic Delphinium linopilatum, or linopetalum. Okay, so this one, I submitted both of these to the calendar contest, and that one was chosen, this one was not. And one of the things that my suggestions is to use it's a technique of rhythm or repetition of a shape or a color. And that's what I was going for here, but I think that most people like this one because the sky is more dynamic. And And so that's just a reminder that sky background is important. Kind of helps us to maybe orient ourselves in the picture. And also, I think getting closer up to the subject makes a stronger statement in that one. Ultra-wide lens to get the background. And these are anemone patens up at Mission Peak. So, okay, and the end. So I made it. And so I put this one in here because this is my friend Diane McKenzie, and this is on Carn Mountain in the fall. And the background and adding layers to your photo as one of the ways to draw people in, so you feel a sense of depth and being drawn into the picture. And you can do that with leading lines, paying attention to layers within your photo. So I'm done. That's it.
Are there a couple of questions for Tracy?
Yeah.
I was just wondering how much adjustments to your photos did you do after the fact?
Not a lot. I do some. I think on the Apple there's an enhance. You can just hit it and it just does its own thing. And then there's a slider. And sometimes I like it and sometimes I don't. But I don't do a lot. Yeah.
Were these taken with an iPhone then?
This one was taken with a my Nikon, but all the others were with an iPhone. Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning the very first photo of the lark, you were practicing the rule of thirds, which is really important.
Yes, thanks for mentioning that.
Put that tree right in the center.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. Yeah. And that was also taken with my Nikon, not the iPhone. So, anyway.
I thought it was interesting too, that first one. It was also a really thirds angle. I don't know if you noticed that, but I did.
No, I know that I placed the subject at a third of the way in, and I wanted the diagonal composition. Yeah. So, thanks for noticing.
So, thank you, Tracy. I'd like to introduce our next speaker.
Welcome our next speaker, Mike Power, Leavenworth photographer, who has a slightly different and equally fascinating approach.
And I thank everybody for being here tonight and getting my cue to go. There we go. I approach things the same and different. What's fascinating is Jack and Tracy and I have gotten together and talked, but we didn't strategize what we were going to say. So you nailed it. That was a very informative talk. Mine is a little bit different, where we are going to go a little bit into a different type of photography with different cameras. A little bit about myself. I'm basically a guy with a camera. And the outdoors has been my life, thanks to my parents. And I also really enjoy getting out and exploring. I've been fortunate to be married to a very lovely lady, Sally, sitting here in the third row. And we love to get out and explore. I was also mentored by a very, very fine gentleman, Josel Namkin, through an introduction from Upper Valley Arts, right in this community. He had a very strong influence on me as far as the type of imagery that I like to make. I love this quote by Elliot. He is a street photographer out of New York, but oftentimes I like to just let the image talk and draw the viewer in. And so I'm always looking to try to tell a story rather than me getting up and talking or writing script. One thing I wanted to jump in real quickly is safety when we're out photographing of not ourselves, but of the environment and the plants. All too often, it's very easy for us to get really excited and find something quite unique and forget about the safety of the plant and its habitat. And we can be a little bit on the aggressive side and damage plants. So I have walked away from countless opportunities just because I knew that my presence was going to be damaging to the plant. So just be cautious in posting imagery. All too often this surge in social media, which is great, but a lot of people want to get that same picture, and you end up exposing areas that unintentionally through your images, everybody has to go get that one shot, and all of a sudden you find the areas being just totally devastated. I have done that, and I will not do it anymore. So I do not post my locations, but when Tracy sees a picture of a phantom orchid, he'll get a hold of me and say, where was that? You know, I trust Tracy. I can tell him where that is, and I know that he's going to be respectful of the area. The digital single lens reflex was kind of my subject. I do photograph with an iPhone, 16 or 17, but I use it primarily for scouting. I will take it out and explore, find something, actually use one of the mapping features and put a waypoint, and then I will come back the next day with a plan for the photo that I want to create. The nice thing of the digital photography is I have focus control, I have white balance controls, a whole gamut of controls that I don't have the abilities to just easily do with the iPhone. That gives me the opportunity to tell a little different story with my images. Not that the iPhone's bad, it's good, but it's a little bit different. Way too many topics to go over detail-wise, but I really live in a manual world. I do manual focus, I do manual exposures. There are numerous features that some of these modern day cameras can do for you and make it very easy for you to create good imagery. I prefer to have a little bit more control over the final output of the image. So I usually stay with a manual opportunity for just about everything. I do cheat sometimes. Some of the less favorable things, yeah, weight, bulk, slower to set up, that can work to your advantage too. And cost, yes. The camera gear is not cheap, and it adds up pretty quickly. This is my only text slide, I apologize. But there's a lot of confusion out there for folks as to, I want to get into macro photography, and they get misled, and it's primarily from the camera manufacturers' marketing, saying that that lens on my camera over there has a macro tag or insignia on it. It does not go to macro. It will not get to the defined one-to-one area footprint. In other words, the camera sensor that I work with is 24 by 36 millimeters. To properly get to one-to-one magnification, I would be photographing a footprint 24 by 36 millimeters. Most cameras that have a macro feature on their zoom lenses, they're focusing at 3 to 4 feet away. And that doesn't mean that it's a bad camera. In fact, it's good. But there's ways that you can take your camera and get very good imagery. Even though your lens can't get close, you can do add-ons like the close-up filters, which is kind of the cheap way, inexpensive way to get involved into close-up and macro photography. It does have a tendency to be a little less on the quality side. I never leave home without the second one, which is an extension tube. Relatively expensive little device that just fits in between the camera and the lens and extends out the lens and gives me the ability to get in close. It may not be one-to-one, but it'll be plenty to get close to the flowers that I want. And then, of course, the obvious is a macro lens. And there's various number of macro lenses. I own 7 macro lenses, and they all do something different. And there's specific task for each lens. Some are very wide, and when I do get to that macro one-to-one magnification, I'm 2 centimeters from the front lens element. It's kind of a challenging lens to use. Other lenses, the 100 and the 180, the 180 is great for staying distance from sensitive subjects. You may have an insect or some other small critter out there that you want to photograph, but they're sensitive to your space. So the longer lenses help get to that point. Techniques and tools, there's so much I want to share with you guys. We could be here for more than a day. This is just a rough list of things that we could go over. Tonight in 15 minutes, it would be unfair to try to hit all these topics for you. I apologize, but we're limited. So maybe in the future, we might be able to do something later. This is where I have the most fun, trying to tell the story. I think about, as Tracy elaborated quite well, telling the story for the viewer to get them interested in seeing what's in that plant, what's unique about it. And so when I go to create an image, I oftentimes will sit down and spend some time, and cameras put off to the side. I don't even get it out right away. And I kind of look and see what's special about this. Same thing Tracy was just elaborating on. We all too often can get super excited and just start grabbing a picture and then leaving. And if you spend some time and look at it, you can get a much better opportunity to get a picture. Derek's story. I met Derek. I've followed Derek for forever. He's a great podcaster. He can talk on photography forever. He's got about 2,200 podcasts, all on photography. I have no idea how he can talk that much about it. I met him on a very special occasion when Microsoft invited us and a whole bunch of other photographers to a professional photography summit. Short story, he and I ended up having lunch together, and he asked what type of photography I do. Well, I do nature, landscape, special on macro photography. And Derek asked, well, Mike, do you have any photos? I'd love to see your work. And it was like, no. And that was before the convenience of cell phones or pads and things like that. And I was like, Derek goes, well, I brought some pictures. Would you like to see mine? And he pulls out a little 5x7 book. And we spent the rest of lunch looking at his images. And I learned so much from him. And I realized right then and there, it's not a photograph until you print it. We all have, press the right button, we all have printers at home. It doesn't have to be special, but it's the fact that you can create something of your imagery and share it. Sally and I, in our home in the living room, has a big coffee table. And there's quite a few books that I've printed up of my images. And when guests come, guess what? They get to see some of the images, and we can tell a little bit about that. You can also do fun little things like print note cards. And so you can make a little note card and you can say, thank you for a great day. You can also say, Don, you know that walk that we did for Flower Walk? There's an appreciation of what you did, and Ann, for 2 walks that we've done. So little gifts like that mean a lot, and sending those pictures out will really give people the idea that there's something special out there. I'm going to pass these around. I'll collect them afterwards. And these are just photographs that I've printed a few times. Can you hand these towards the back? Sharing your art, just getting it out there. And you can see an effect with your guest, your viewer. When you hand somebody a cell phone and say, did you see that picture I took? And then Ted will go scroll through and scroll through and scroll. He doesn't have the connection to what a print does. And so just having little samples like this, these little 5x7 books, travel with me whenever I'm going out photographing. They stay in the rig. I'm not going to carry them out in the field. But when I run into folks, they can ask questions and I can kind of share something. This picture is with Dawn leading a walk. It was a lovely walk in an area close near here. The last plant that we saw was this phlox. And thank you. And as I was coming back the next day and creating that image, I noticed that the phlox was starting to open. One of the books around here is a project that I have of flowers right as they start to open. So I spent forever taking those pictures. Where do I go? Each season's a little different. I watch, look, and listen. I also take a lot of notes on my phone, and I mark places that I'm interested in, and then I'll come back. I'm getting close to the end of my talk. I've been given my 2-minute warning here. But the universe at the bottom of your feet is a really good point that Don Komarachka is an amazing macro photographer. Slowing down and just looking around, you see so much more. And back to telling your story. Practice. I practice I practiced at dinner tonight. It was a pansy, but yeah. Anyway, most important part, I guess, to leave you guys with is have fun. Get out, enjoy. The points of what camera do I need, what equipment do I need, it doesn't really matter. You don't need the latest and greatest. The most important part is you. Invest in yourself. Learn from others. Read different artists. Listen to other people, whether it be a video, a podcast, whatever. But reach out. And the last one is help others. Share it. Pass it on. Something that you learn. Jack, Tracy, and I have all kind of been learning this last couple of weeks about a new program for the Apple or the iPhone. And yeah, don't sweat the details. If you have it, use it. Don't worry about, I have to get the latest and greatest. Here's a list of some references. These are folks that I don't know personally, but I follow because of their creativity and their willingness to share. And they are good resources. Again, I thank you, and I can take a couple questions. One? Okay. Great. See ya.
And our next presenter will be another Leavenworth resident, Jack Mynatt, who can share his experiences and recommendations.
Now for something completely different. For one thing, most of the pictures that I'm going to show you, not all of them, instead of the 50 pounds of gear that you're seeing over here, most of them are with this, which is an iPhone 16 Pro. And it works as a wallet. So that's a little different. What I want to talk about is not quite so much how to take pictures, but why do we take pictures? And there are, of course, a bunch of reasons. I'm going to point out a couple. Whoop, that work? Oh, no. Ah, there we go. One of them, of course, is to ID plants. I don't know how many of you guys were at the conifer workshop that we had, what? I don't know. When was that? December. I took this. Does anybody know what that picture is? What is that? Anybody know? I thought I heard it. What? No, it's not a huckleberry. It's a yew. It's a western yew, which I was a little hazy about. And so when a friend of mine took me up to Icicle Gorge and showed it to me, I took a picture of it so I could remember it. So one thing we do is ID plants, and extra credit, whose gloved hand is that? That guy right there. He's the one who showed me. So one thing we do is it's a really helpful tool, even if you've got Seek or you're using Google. It's nice to just take a picture and you look at it and you look at it again and go, oh yeah, I know what that is. Another one is to make beautiful images. That doesn't look so great. It's a little washed out on this thing, but that's not a bad looking image. And you've seen many other beautiful images. There's a bunch right here. And now the talk's going to get a little weird. What's that? Someone whose French is better than mine.
This is not a pipe.
This is not a pipe. So does anybody know who did that painting? It's a surrealist Belgian painter by the name of René Magritte, who painted this in 1929. And what does that mean? This is not a pipe. Well, the kind of uninteresting answer is, well, of course it's not a pipe. It's a painting of a pipe. Okay, duh. But maybe it's got nothing to do with pipes at all. Maybe it's a two-dimensional image that's not about some other thing. It's a thing unto itself. And we can have all kinds of responses to it. We like it, we don't like it, it's stupid, and, what the F? But it's a thing unto itself. Here's another example. It's not a star map. You're not going to ID stars from this. Van Gogh is not even, this is Van Gogh's Starry Night, which I'm sure you all know. He's not even trying to show us what the night sky actually looks like, right? The night sky doesn't look like that. It's a thing unto, it's a two-dimensional image that's a thing unto itself. It's not about something else. That's I think, the point, and that's the, this is not a pipe point, I believe. So now let's look at a photograph. Okay, how about that? By the way, Mike, if you'll, oh, wait, no, Mike, move over. There it is back there. That is, does anybody know who did this? Surely you do. Ansel Adams. And that's actually a print which I own that's from the original negative. Not done by Ansel Adams, by his son. Back when I was a starving graduate student, I was in Yosemite Valley and somehow managed to cough up the money to buy it. But anyway, how about that? What is that? Is it to ID a Jeffrey Pine? Is that why Adams took that picture? I don't think so. Is it to make a beautiful image of a Jeffrey Pine? Well, maybe. But is it possibly a thing unto itself? Something that we can have emotional responses to, we can like, we can dislike, we can be puzzled by it, we can see connections to the rest of the world. Maybe it's not a pine tree. And I can't say that in French, but I keep looking at my friend Ogburn back there, who claims to speak French. Maybe it's not a pine tree. So what I'm suggesting is maybe we can think about our images that we take as this is not a pine tree. This is a thing unto itself. So now let me show you a few of my photos. Okay, so maybe that's not a pine tree. Maybe that's not a pine tree either. I took that in my backyard, which was backlit. Another big advantage, in my humble opinion, over all that stuff. And Mike is a far better photographer than I am, so I'm not dissing Mike. But I'm saying another advantage, by any means, another advantage of this is you've got it with you. I believe it was Stieglitz, a street photographer, among other things, in New York. Many decades ago, somebody said, how do you take such wonderful pictures? And he said, F8, that's a technical thing, and be there. Have the camera with you. Well, this is the epitome of be there. I was having coffee in my backyard, and this is my own private bonsai tree, which is growing out of a rock and hasn't gotten any bigger in the 25 years that I've lived there. And I happened to have my camera with me because I was looking at the New York Times and drinking my coffee. And this image was perfectly backlit for about 12 seconds. And I was able to get it. Well, maybe that's not a pine tree. Maybe that's something that, lets me think about what was there, or I can see the wonderful lighting. Anyway, so maybe that's not a pine tree either. Whoop, wrong way. Maybe that's not a pine tree. I'm going to violate the rule about not telling people where that is. That's up at Sam Hill, which I took. Many of the pictures I'm going to show you in this sequence are from Sam Hill, because I was up there recently. This is taken a while ago. There's another one. Is that a pine tree? Maybe. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's just something to have you think about connections to nature. How about that? Is that a pine tree? What is that? Anybody see a pine tree there?
Bark.
It's the bark. What kind of bark? It's a pondo. All of these are ponderosa pines, by the way. That's part of why I selected them. So not really a pine tree. Not really. What is it? Think about impermanence, about life changing and rotting into the ground. I mean, what emotional reaction? Maybe you have one, maybe you don't. But it's not really a pine tree. I don't know if you can you turn the light down a little bit? This looks a lot possible. Can you see that? You see the fuzzy stuff up on the, That's the reason I took it. And that's a ponderosa. Back here, can you turn the light down? This one's worth looking at. This is actually my favorite out of the whole section. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't take that to make a picture of a pine tree. I took it because it has this kind of ethereal quality to it that really appeals to me, but it's not a pine tree. So, my suggestion is give yourself permission to take some photos that are not about something. They are not a picture of a thing. They are interesting images unto themselves. Or, in other words, give yourself permission to take weird photographs. Okay? So here are, let me see, okay, I can wrap this up pretty quick. So here are a few more weird photographs. There's one. Okay. There's one. There's one. It's not a plant, but we are more closely related to those things, by the way, than we are to those ponderosa pines I showed you. Our DNA, we have a common ancestor with that, which is, that might be a psilocybin mushroom. I'm not gonna say. But anyway, there, it's weird. How about that one? Anybody know what that is, by the way? What, say again?
Dandelion fuzz?
I'm pretty sure that's salsify, but somebody, you think it's salsify? Yeah, I think so. There's another one from Sam Hill. Those aren't plants either. Those are lichen. These will look better. Okay. And sometimes it works. Taken where there's the print of that one back there. Sometimes taking weird photographs works, and sometimes it doesn't. This one, to my taste, it's a little too close to these. You go into a modern art museum and there's just a blank canvas there. You go, well, maybe, I don't know. But sometimes it does. So anyway, my suggestion is, again, take a few weird photos. It can be a thing unto itself. It doesn't have to be about something else. So anyway, I'm done. Questions, comments? F8 and be there. That's the key. But you can't control, as Mike pointed out, you can't really get F8. You can't control it to do that. At least I didn't do that. Oh, and by the way, I will do a plug. Mike and I, as part of the study, the WNPS study weekend, we're teaching a workshop, an all-day workshop on iPhone photography. So if you would like to, the plan, we think at the moment, is we will go out in the morning and take photographs, and then we will come back in the afternoon and we will do some post-processing using the Apple processing system.
About that study weekend is an annual event that
I'd like to mention about that Jack referred to Study Weekend. That is an annual event of the Washington Native Plant Society held around the state in different chapters. This year it's being held by our chapter and centered on the Caterpillar Fairgrounds, in which there will be close to 40 walks and events and workshops surrounding that period, May 29 to 31. It's filling up quickly, but there is still, as of this morning, almost 50 openings left. The one thing you need to be, though, to attend this is to be a member of the Native Plant Society. If this is something that interests you and you're not a member, there's still a chance to do it. And if you go to WNPS.org, you can learn more about that event there.
And we will talk specifically about many of the kinds of things that were touched on, particularly in Mike and Tracy's talk, about techniques for blurring the background or getting more depth of field. We'll talk about a lot of that kind of stuff. And then play with our images. Yeah.
I didn't see wide angle on my phone.
This is from the first.
Well, that may be because yours doesn't have a wide-angle lens. Yeah, this one, this is an iPhone 16, and 16 Pro actually. You can see it's got 3 lenses on the back.
Yeah, I've got 3 lenses.
So you.
I've got 3 lenses, but it's a 14
Probably have a wide-angle lens. I'm guessing. I'd have to look. I don't know. This is a 16, and Mike, yours is a 17, I think. I'll take a look at it in a minute, but it depends on the model of the phone. Some of them only have 2 lenses, but anyway, I'll take a look. By the way, the image processing package that comes built into the Apple OS is, in my opinion, really excellent. You can do an amazing amount of stuff with it. It's not like Lightroom or Photoshop, but it's way easier to use. And it's free. You know, if you got the phone, you've got the processing, the post-processing program. But take the workshop. We'll show you how to use it.
I have a question for, a question for any of the speakers, and if you have a print or a photo on your iPad or your phone that you would like to print, for someone that doesn't have a photography studio phone, where would I do that?
Costco used to do wonderful printing, and they don't anymore, so that's not very helpful. Yeah, but what?
They do use Shutterfly, though.
I'm sorry?
Costco uses Shutterfly.
Oh, do they? Okay. Great, and you can just take it to Costco and they'll do it through Shutterfly? Oh, and Home Depot will do it? Okay, I use, I don't print too many of my photographs anymore. I have a dedicated laptop that is in my kitchen that just shows my photographs. So that's sort of cheating. The photos I do print, I use a printing company in Bellingham. That's pretty expensive, but they do fantastic stuff. So if you have a photograph that you're willing to spend a few bucks on, I can hook you up with a guy in Bellingham who does amazing stuff. And I suspect Mike I know prints a lot of your stuff yourself.
Yeah, I do a lot of my own printing in-house, but there are a lot of very good printing companies. White House, Custom Color, Shutterfly, just to name a couple. If you just do a little Google research, you'll find some good quality and easy to use to upload and get reasonably priced prints.
Yeah, I've had very good luck, and if you know, a few times I've gotten stuff back that I didn't like, they take care of it.
Any further questions? If you haven't had a chance to look at any of these pictures, closely in back.
Yeah.
So when is this all-day photography workshop?
It's either, is it Saturday or May 30th?
In the future.
It's in the future. It's in a, yeah.
You haven't got the word out.
No. We're still kind of thinking about what we're going to do, to be honest with you. But basically it's going to be, we're going to go out in the field, take pictures in the morning, have lunch, come back and do post-processing. You know, play with them using the Apple.
Right. It's not just taking the picture, but like knowing what all those little adjustments are.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to try to teach you how to do. Thank you all for coming. And we're